There are not going to be any more verses on this screen. So Job, after losing just about everything he had except his life, has come to the point where he questions God's wisdom and power. Job is confused by all the misfortune that has come upon him, because he believes he is righteous, and he is. However, he begins to doubt God's wisdom and accuses God of being unjust. Job basically demands that God should explain himself for all the bad things that are happening in Job's life. And God does. And God in his great power comes to Job and rebukes him, and saying in Job 38, beginning in verse 1, "Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, 'Who is this darkens counsels by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? Or what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut this in the sea with the doors when it burst out from the womb? When I made clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed limits for it, and set bars and doors, and said, Thus far you shall come, and no farther here shall your proud ways be stayed.'" This is similar to the first verse in the song, "Behold Our God." God declares, "Who are you, Job, to say anything about my power or wisdom? God is the one who laid the foundations of the earth and knows its measurements." Job is not capable of running or understanding God's creation, so Job has no place to question the way God runs the universe. So the verse of "Behold Our God" that I'm talking about is, "Who has held the oceans in his hand? Who has numbered every grain of sand?" Chapter 38 and 39 of Job continue on about the many marvelous deeds God has done and the power that he has. So go ahead and skip over to chapter 40 for time's sake. Here Job realizes his mistake, and he says in verse 4 and 5, "Behold, I am of small account. What shall I answer you? I laid my hand on my mouth. I have spoken once, and I will not answer twice, but I will proceed no further." Job admits he spoke in a way that he shouldn't have, something we can all relate to. That moment of realization when you have said something you shouldn't. Embarrassment, fear follows. I'm sure Job was feeling both, especially fear. God then responds to Job's pledge of silence, declaring in verse 7, "Dress for action like a man. I will question you and make it known to me. Will you even put me in the wrong? Will you condemn me that you may be in the right? Have you an arm like God? And can you thunder with a voice like his?" Back in verse 2 of "Behold Our God," who has given counsel to the Lord? Who can question any of his words? Job, and any human, does not have the power or wisdom to question God or condemn his ways. His power is unfathomable to us. So who are we to believe we know better? Job is then given the chance to repent. He says then in chapter 42, beginning in verse 1, "And Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Hear, and I will speak. I will question you, and make it known to me. I heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. Therefore I despise myself, and repent in dust and ashes. Are you like Job tonight? Have you forgotten the power and the wisdom of the Lord, and put your faith in your own ways? Maybe you've never realized the full power of God. I can tell you his ways are much better than any man can think of. In his wisdom, God had a plan of salvation from the creation of the world. We just sang about Jesus' death and resurrection earlier. That salvation is available to all because of his victory over death. All you have to do now is repent, believe, and be baptized for the forgiveness of sins. Maybe you're like Job and you fell away and you've been questioning God's way, or even the existence of God. He is real, and his power and wisdom are great. And one day, we will all behold his glory. So why not come to him tonight, recognizing his power? If you have any spiritual needs, you can come forward now as we stand and as we sing.